Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be starting a brand new legendary campaign for Total War Warhammer 2 using the Steel Faith Overhaul mod. This is going to be a Dark Elf campaign with Hellebron. Now, Steel Faith, if you've been watching my channel, you know that's one of my favorite mods on Total War. It does just a complete transformation of the game. It changes all the stats around, adds a bunch of units, adds a bunch of really cool landmark buildings and mechanics into the game. And just recently, they added a whole bunch of balancing changes and a new sort of recruitment system to the game. That happened on August 16th. That was about 5 days ago. And I thought it looked really cool, so I figured I'd try it out. I only have one Dark Elf campaign on the channel so far, and I like a lot of what they were doing, and I haven't played with the new Crone DLC. I do have an Awariel campaign on the channel. But I haven't played with Hellebron yet, so I figured I'd give her a try. It looks like a lot of fun.
Revel in slaughter.
I went in there and scouted it out. There are a lot of new units that are really cool. It's been rebalanced. There are a bunch of different strategies that are viable now. And there are a lot of different campaign mechanics that you get to juggle, so it looks like a lot of fun. So she has a hard start position. She can sacrifice slaves to trigger a Death Knight, which I'm not entirely sure exactly what that entails. I haven't triggered one of those yet. I only played out the first couple of turns just to kind of see sort of what I might want to do strategically. It gives you a lot of extra bonuses to your faction, but then you also get this Blood Voyage, and so we'll have to see how that goes. Sorry, my cat's just like messing with all this stuff. Get extra death hags, which are pretty cool, extra casualties post-battle, which is really nice. That helps fuel your slave trade, so that's great. Not that the slave trade is great, but that's how you get most of your income, so it's good as far as Dark Elves are concerned. And she gets an upkeep reduction on Witch Elves, Sisters of Slaughter, and Haganeth Executioners. That is awesome, because I know the Executioners are some of the best infantry superiority unit in the game. And then Witch Elves are okay, and Sisters of Slaughter look pretty promising. So that's helpful. And then you also get a slave decline rate. Now, it's only in the local province. We're probably not going to be hanging out in a lot of the highly populated places for too much of the campaign. So it's nice. But let's go ahead and get in here. So the Dark Elves were one of my favorite factions. I do have a it's about a 30 or 40 episode campaign for Malekith. And they have some of the coolest, like, most powerful units in the game. It's just getting through the public order issues that the slaves bring up is usually the biggest thing early on. It's money, how to balance money and public order. And it can take a little while to get that started, especially if you're constantly getting backdoored by Norska. So we have to deal with Norska early on. So they are very frustrating to deal with. If you've watched that campaign, you know what I'm talking about.
Queen Hellebron. The sounds of torment and death ring out throughout your city of Haganeth. Past the fortress.
Okay, we'll go ahead and skip all that. So you get a Death Knight, and so this is kind of like sort of like the food system for the Skaven is the best comparison, I think, where if you have a Death Knight, then it moves this bar up, I believe, and you basically just sacrifice some slaves and it causes a Death Knight. Now, the thing that I really like about it is it gives you the 6 public order, which is going to be a huge deal. And then you get extra physical resistance, leadership, and all kinds of bonuses for your army. So that's pretty nice. And then, but if you let it fall, if you don't sacrifice slaves, then she starts losing all this stuff. So minus 10% tax rate in all provinces. This is terrible. Sadie, can you just quit messing with stuff? Just stop. And minus 10 public order in all provinces. That's pretty terrible. But yeah, so that's interesting. So that's going to be another tax on your slaves, which is going to be a tax on your money. And in exchange, you do get a lot of public order for that. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I think it'll probably be worth, though. But it's another system that you have to manage, which is pretty cool. There's a Sword of Cain here. But Sadie, I swear to God, just stop. She's trying to get at, I ate something just a little bit ago. She's trying to, like, lick the bowl, but she's lactose intolerant, and it's some macaroni and cheese, so I don't want her to eat it or she could get sick. Okay. Anyway, so the Sword of Cain is something that's new in this sort of with this DLC. And that's down here. So we'll try to pick that up eventually. That's going to take a little while, though, to work our way down there. And as far as the slave system goes, we'll talk about this more as we get in there, but basically, you just put slaves in certain cities, and it amplifies the income that you get. You don't really get much income from the cities itself as the Dark Elves, so you have to have that slave income in order to actually generate any money. So like right here, I might just... Oh, you can't... I forgot you can't turn off public order either on cities. You can't turn off taxation. So you have to get taxed. And they changed this now with this mod to add in additional recruitment costs of your armies if you're in bad standing, and extra slave decline rate if you're in bad standing public order wise. That's going to make it even trickier, and every faction has something like this, where if you have bad public order, then bad things happen to you, and that makes it a lot more challenging on Legendary to try to deal with that. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's see, what else is new here? I think the techs are roughly the same. They have very, very good techs compared to a lot of other factions. So we're going to go for Founded on Tyranny to start with, because we really need growth. We want to try to get to tier 3 as soon as we can get there. We have a lot of powerful stuff available at tier 3, most notably the Reapered Bolt Thrower and the Black Art Corsairs. Sorry, I am a little tired, so if I zone out a little bit, I apologize for that, but I am just trying to get some content out here for you. Okay, so I think that's what we'll go for. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but I think getting the 25 growth is probably where we want to be. Extra money is a big deal, and then having some ranks for Dread Spears and stuff is good. But I still think the growth is where we want to be. Your growth is not that great, if we're being honest. Then we can look at the buildings themselves here. So you get a couple of landmark buildings at Harganeth, which is nice. Now this one I think was already there before in the base game, and it's really nice. You get minus 5% upkeep for all executioners, which is great. Executioners, like I said, some of the best sword infantry in the game. And then we get Hellebron's Palace. I don't remember if this is in the base game or not, but minus 1 turn for Witch Elf recruitments. Now it's only province wide, so it's okay. Minus 5% total in your army, so they're okay units. We'll talk about them in a second. As far as the rebalance goes, you get a pretty good bargain here. Like, the Dark Shards are some of the best, if not the best, starting archers in the game, because it's heavily armor piercing damage, 34 with like massive piercing. 140 range is still pretty respectable. They have 50 armor, 22 ammo, 192 cost, so they're just amazing. I mean, they're really, really strong. Like, this would be good for like a tier 3 archers for most factions. So super good. Dread Spears, very solid, just silver shield, good melee attack, melee defense, sturdy health, reasonable cost, very good standard infantry to start with. Bleak swords, pretty much the same as the spears, just they have a sword, a little bit more melee attack and defense. Dark Shards, now this is interesting that their damage does go down significantly if you put the shield with them, because frankly these are overpowered in the base game, like really overpowered. The Dark Shards are already strong enough, but once you put a shield on them and they can start fighting against a lot of the other archers out there, so they hit the hardest and have some of the best defense, that's just too much. So I do like how they balanced it down a little bit here to make it a bit more fair. Like, if you want the defense, you're not going to deal as much missile damage. Now 25 piercing is still respectable, but it's not 34. That's pretty good. Corsairs with hand bows, these are pretty weak overall. I mean, they're supposed to be like a skirmishing unit, but they're kind of close range. They only have 70 range, so probably won't use them. Now, if we want missile units, we'll probably just use Dark Shards or Shades. However, the standard Corsairs, I think, are these the same? Let's see. These don't have the infantry superiority. These are some of the most powerful. I think these are the most powerful tier 3 infantry in the game. If they're not, they're certainly really close. They have 90 armor for tier 3, which is great. And then they basically have 55 melee attack and 50 damage because they get plus 10 bonus versus infantry, and they move pretty quickly at 40 and have good base leadership. So they're just insanely powerful, and of course they have this buff, which all Dark Elves have, which is pretty much after you kill so many units, you just go in a frenzy, you get a lot of extra vigor and deal a ton of extra damage for a while. So very, very powerful infantry. We definitely want to stack up some of those as soon as possible. And there is no stock on them, or whatever they call it. What are they calling it? Unit capacity. So you see the unit capacity there. This is kind of like Tomb Kings. They did this with all factions with this mod, where you can only have a limited amount of the really high tier things unless you build more buildings for it. So it forces you to have unit diversity, which I think is really nice. So it's definitely challenging. You can't just stack like, you know, an 8 stack of Harganeth executioners and get like 5 black dragons, you know, like we were doing in the first campaign near the end of the game. It forces you to have some more diversity, so I do like that. But these are not part of that system. Some of the lower tier stuff is not, and they aren't. So we'll probably fill out a decent chunk of our army with these Corsairs for a good chunk of the game. Reaper Bolt Thrower looks like it got a pretty big buff. It's only 208, which is very noteworthy. This thing can do some serious damage. This is very, very good artillery for the cost. So I think it's pretty nice, and it also has the siege attacker trait, so it will allow you to attack on the first turn if you want to. So overall, very powerful tree. It's good. You'll notice here that you get slave decline rate increases with every building that you get. I think it's that way with every, or with most offensive buildings. You get a slave decline rate. So that means that's going to hurt your money a lot if you get that. So it's a nice little min-max balancing act that you have to do here. These Dark Riders, just kind of moving on. I'll just kind of move through just sort of what's changed from the base game, then we'll go in, we'll get some fights, and we'll have a good episode here. These Dark Riders, I think that's a pretty big buff. They're only 160, and they have 65 charge bonus, which is insane to me. And they get plus 12 versus infantry, so they have a 50 base melee attack with a 65 charge bonus. 100 speed, and they only cost 160. Like, that's less than spears. So that to me seems pretty insane. I mean, they probably don't weigh a lot, so they're not going to do a lot of impact damage, but still, like, that's just great for rounding up, I think, and just killing a bunch of archers, you know, on the field and just running stuff down at the end of battle. Don't underestimate that. If you can run down and kill everything at the end of battle, you get a lot of extra slaves. The armies just aren't going to have as many units at the end of the day if you have to fight them again. So that's really, really handy. The problem is, like, this tree itself is just something that we probably don't want. It's tough to say. There's a limited amount of building slots, obviously, and you don't want too many military buildings, because you'll have a huge slave decline rate, and you won't be able to manage your city. You're not going to have slave pens or money income or, like, public order buildings or anything like that. So it's making it very tempting. So I almost don't mind them making this a little on the overpowered side early, just because, like, I think you have to have this building, Halls of Ravaging, and then things like Shades, which we'll talk about in a second, and like Witch Elves are competing for that slot for, like, really powerful tier 2, tier 3 units. So I think that's pretty cool. It's notable that with this mod you can also get those off of Black Roads, which are very strong, and we'll probably get. They increase slave income by 5%. Now, we can't upgrade these anymore, but it does also give 15% movement province-wide, which is going to be very handy for dealing with any pesky Norscan backdoor action. And it only costs 1,000. And that does allow you to recruit these Dark Riders with no other buildings. So I think that's pretty cool. If you choose to get this and then upgrade it, then you can also get Reapered Crossbow. So this is like a that's pretty good damage. I mean, 56 pierce damage that's really good. Only has 18 ammo, but basically Skirmisher Cav has 100 move speed that can get up there and weaken them. So overall, I do think that probably Shades would be a bit more powerful, but it's definitely noteworthy. Those are pretty good. And then you can get Dark Riders with shields. You can throw a shield on them. It costs a little bit more gold. It's okay. Then this is a new unit that they've added in. It's expensive. It's 336. And it does have lethal poison, which is something that this mod adds, which just does a lot of extra damage over time. So that's pretty cool. Has magical damage. Lower charge bonus though. Lower melee attack, no bonus versus infantry. Really low armor, but you get to cast 4 free spells. You get 2 lesser doom bolts, which are nice, and you get 2 soul blights. So, you know, that's roughly the equivalent of getting 30 extra winds of magic or so in a fight. So, it's pretty cool. You know, if we inherit one of these buildings, I wouldn't be too sad. Although I don't know if I would necessarily go out and buy them. Although, you know, if you have 3 or 4 of these in there, being able to drop down, you know, 2 doom bolts and 2 of those other spells per is really powerful magic, potentially. Okay, then Shades. Shades are super strong in the base game. These don't hurt your slave decline rate, as you can see, but they do hurt your public order a little bit, which can be a problem. Now, the thing with Shades is, like, the base Shades were ridiculously strong. I think they used to be tier 2. I think they used to be tier 2, and then the upgraded ones were tier 3, from what I'm remembering. But maybe I have that wrong. So I'm glad they bumped it up to tier 3, because they're obscenely powerful. They may have been tier 3 all along. But they did reduce their range. They used to have a range of like 170, I think, maybe. And they had a pretty long range, and they have huge missile damage, so even more than Dark Shards. Now, they cost a lot more than Dark Shards, but they can also fight. So they have, you know, 40 melee attack, 35 defense, and 40 weapon strength. So if you run out of ammo, you can actually run in there. And they do a decent job fighting. They're not amazing, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good at fighting. They're better than Bleak Swords at fighting, we'll put it that way. And they also happen to be some of the best missile infantry in the game. So that's good. But the problem was there was really never any reason to upgrade to great swords or dual weapons in the base game. It was just a lot more expensive, and you don't really want to be hand-to-hand fighting with them anyways. Like, they can, but it's usually not worth paying up. But in this, they added on some special bonuses to make it a little more tempting to go up. So if you get the Great Swords one, then you get Stagger Shot, which slows movement speed by 50%, lowers melee attack and defense. So lowering the defense is really nice if you can get into the back and flank. They also move pretty quickly. They have 43 move speed for archers. That's kind of fast. So that can be really nice. And if there are like some scary things that are trying to approach you and you're trying to gun them down, then slowing their approach on like a giant or something like that could be very useful. Or like Chaos Chosen with halberds, you know, that type of stuff. These can be very, very good at stopping them from getting to your line a little bit faster. And then they do have some armor piercing damage now. So similar melee attack and defense, but more weapon strength and armor piercing. So pretty good option, especially for late game. And then the dual weapons are interesting as well. Now, important to note, these dual weapons do boost their range back up to 175. So that's the main attraction here, is that, you know, you pay this price and you get like 50 extra range, which is really good. Maybe it's not, what is it? It's, I don't remember. Let me say 120. Yeah, it's 55 extra range. So that right there would probably make it worth it. But you also get a bonus versus infantry of 10. So it's not as much piercing, but pretty good against infantry. And you get a bleed effect. So it's going to deal extra damage to everything that you're attacking. So that's super strong. So that is very tempting to buy those upgrades. That's nice. And you have this Tower of Dark Rituals, which is pretty cool. Extra Black Art growth for a pretty expensive price, and a lot of slave decline rate. So I like that. The Black Arcs take a while to grow, but that's helpful. We'll get into the Black Arcs later, pretty much, but Sadie, no, what are you? He's trying to like lay on the mouse. But but pretty much they act as like a recruitment center, and they give you some support later on, some like artillery support. But you can recruit like Blackheart Corsairs off of them, and I think later on you could even get Hydras off of them. So it's just a really good sort of mobile fortress to recruit some extra stuff. So that's handy. You have the Witch Elves. Have been rebalanced a little bit, so they get 10 versus infantry. These are okay. I mean, they do have 55 weapon strength and 65 melee attacks. They have really high melee attack, but they still have no armor. Very low physical resist. Now they do have this madness, which lowers melee defense and forces units to basically rampage so the enemy can't control them. They also have murderous mastery now. I don't remember if they had that in the base game or not. So they're pretty good, and we do get a discount with Hellebron on them, so we'll get a couple of them. Now, oddly enough, these do have a cap of 2. You can only have 2 in your whole army, or in your whole faction, I think, per one of these buildings. So that's actually helpful. And then you get 1 public order in all your adjacent provinces, so that's interesting. K-Knight Assassin, he's okay, we'll get him. He wasn't that great in the base game. He's probably still not that amazing. And then these great swords are some of the best infantry. I mean, like Chosen great swords are probably better, but they're really good. So they have pretty high weapon strength, plus 15 bonus versus infantry, so you're going to have 73 base melee attack with 85 base weapon strength, and then they have murderous mastery and killing blow, which you can use to do a lot of extra damage. So, and they have heavy armor, so they're really good, really good. And they're at a reasonable price too. You know, 512 is not too bad. Sword Masters of Hoeth can kind of go toe-to-toe with them. Yeah, they're going to be good. Black Dragon, strong. He's a dragon. Now, it's not as strong as like the High Elf Dragons, but it's also a lot cheaper. I think the High Elf Dragons are like 1100. These are 736. So they're pretty legit. You know, we'll definitely get some dragons if we can later. They added Feral Manticores to the roster, which are okay at 416. You know, melee attack and defense is okay. It's not amazing. It's alright. It's a little intermediary flying unit if you want some of that. Pretty good on sieges. It does have strong vigor, which is helpful, and it is a siege attacker. So that's useful. This is the new thing that they added with the expansion, I think. So this is the Carabidis, I guess. But they're pretty sweet. It gives a -8 leadership to all enemies in the area. Causes terror, big unit, bonus versus large. 25. Now it has this thing called Toxic Venom, which deals 14 per second for 15 seconds. It does a lot of extra damage over time. Pretty heavy pierce, low on the melee defense side, doesn't have regeneration, but it's pretty legit. We'll definitely try that out. And then the Hydras are pretty good. They weren't like the most amazing unit in the game, in the base game, but they're okay. 750 weapon strength is pretty big. Melee attack, and then they just have a lot of regeneration. They have this, another takes its place, and then Hydra regeneration is a lot better than normal regeneration. So they're a pretty decent sort of frontline tank type of unit. As long as you don't stick them into halberds, they can definitely keep some swords busy for a while. Decent armor at 50. These have a bit more, but good. Harpies, not that great. I mean, they're not that expensive though. I guess you can like flank or like use them to go deal with artillery or something. Like maybe have a couple of those, might be okay, but overall they're not gonna be that great most of the time. Pretty low HP, so they're alright. Cold ones, not really worth it in the base game. Like we might get some because of this the stacking system here, the stock system. We can't do a lot of executioners. Might try some of these out. You know, only 55 charge bonus, 43, 32. So I mean, these are almost as good when they're against infantry. Honestly, if we just look at the stats there, these don't have the same kind of armor piercing, though. They don't have the same kind of weight or armor, I suppose. But, I mean, they're alright. I just think they're a little expensive for what they are. The upgraded version, though, are a little more interesting. They give everybody an extra 5 melee defense, and they have lethal poison. They do cost a lot more. But, we'll see. We'll try them out. Blackguard of Nagaron, they moved them up from tier 4 to tier 5, which is probably where they belong. They're some of the best halberds in the game, along with the high elf halberds. So, I think that they are pretty solid. We'll try them out eventually. Cold One Chariot, probably won't run it. I don't like Chariot units that much. If they get bogged down in combat, they're just not that effective. I'd just rather have heavy-hitting cavalry instead. Like, I'd rather just have Cold One Knights. But huge array of different magic. We'll look at that later on that we can use. You can use shadows, death, dark, fire. Now I use fire in the base game, but it's been nerfed a lot on this because it was really overpowered in the base game. But we'll revisit that and sort of see what's changed. And then the new unit here, Sisters of Slaughter. Pretty handy that they come stock on a public order building, which is very helpful, because we're going to need to upgrade that, most likely in a lot of places. So, 384 is on the expensive side. They have really high melee defense. Their melee attack is a little suspect. They do have a bleed effect. They do have pretty heavy armor piercing. So I'm not sure how many of these we'll get. They do get extra melee attack if they're losing combat. They do have strong vigor. And they do have murderous mastery. So these are pretty good. So they're kind of like witch elves, but like much more defensive. So witch elves have 81 base melee attack and defense. These have 98, but then these also against infantry get an extra plus 10, I think. They have 45 base damage, but less piercing. So they're okay. They're interesting. These might be good to put up against, like, cavalry or something. Since these, like, wouldn't get the bonus against infantry. I don't know. We'll try them out. We'll see how they work. Like, I'm a little concerned because they have low armor. But they do have high melee defense. So, we'll try them out. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here and get a fight going now. Then we'll talk about some of the other stuff in a little bit. So we want to try to go for Grand early. Now, they have 8 units, and then here it's going to be 16, 17 units.
Behold my beauty.
Death Hag!
Okay, so what I want to do first is just go for this.
My blades thirst. Always.
Make sure we get there first, and then I'm going to
Cain is
just
watching.
encircle to start. The reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to bring the Death Hag in. I didn't want to combine her in the army first because I would have lost some movement speed if I did that, and I may not have been able to reach. But I want her to be there so she can get some experience.
Fill my cauldron. Always
I'd say,
Death
what?
Knight.
Okay. I mean, they don't have a lord. We're just going to
None
crush them. I'm
shall
just going to
live.
auto-resolve this.
Their blood
Lost more than I thought we
sustains
would.
me.
Which kind of sucks. We did lose some dark shards. Okay. Now, one thing about this mod, and I'm not sure why this is like just with the new thing with August 16th. I'm not sure what their reasoning is. I'm just gonna occupy it just because I want the buildings.
Fire is so beautiful.
Is that they give you just an insane amount of skill points,
Cain's
which I think makes it a little
instrument.
too easy. Like they didn't used to do this. Like every now and then they would give you 2 skill points, but now they're giving you 3 per level. I disagree with that. I think that just trivializes the skill point system. So I'm just going to self-regulate this and just only use 1 per level. I might do 2 to start with just because I think you should get a skill point at level 1. I don't know, or I could just... You do get 1 at level 40 also. I think I'm just going to do 1 per level, so I'm just going to use 1 here. And I think we're going to go for this, because this applies to spears, bleak swords, and corsairs. This stuff's pretty good with slavers and things like that, but... We're going to be using, like I said, corsairs throughout the whole game, most likely. Like, we'll start off using spears and bleak swords, and then eventually we're just going to be using corsairs for a while until we get to the Hagganath executioners, and even then we'll have a limited amount of those we can get, so... I'll go with Inspiring Presence. And as much... It's so tempting to just go ahead and boost this up, but I just feel like that's just overpowered. I don't think they get that many points. I mean, let me see how many points does she have? She has 0 skill points. So I'll match them if they show up. Like if Chaos shows up with like a level 40 thing and I'm like level 20, then maybe I use some of those skill points just to even up with them. I'm not sure like why they did that. If it wasn't to balance out the rest of it. I mean, maybe they think it's a lot harder now because of the stock system, so they want to give you more skills to try to compensate for that. But I'm just going to stick with just using 1. So it's going to be annoying. It's going to look like I always have skills floating, but I just don't want to abuse the system. Okay.
Mistress of Hagganath.
I'm trying to think of how we want to approach this. How many...
You waste my time.
I don't know how many archers they have. 3 archers.
Blood.
I could afford maybe 3 or 4 more. Okay, so we'll keep the wine. That does give us some public order. We might be able to trade it. Okay, slave slums. Does give us some extra stuff, although it's not walls. Interesting. Okay, so we can get... There are 2 different breeds of public order buildings. That does give some money. I was trying to think. I eventually want shades, and then I also want this upgraded. This other stuff is kind of whatever to start with. That's kind of expensive. I mean, we can sell this later if we need to. I feel like growth is definitely something I'm interested in. Money is also pretty important, though. Let's go for growth. We can always sell this later if we need to. Let's see if we can do politics-wise.
Speak.
I'd really like to play nice with Nagarond.
The Witch King of Nagarond will hear your words. Weakling! You dare!
Black-hearted.
I don't know how I want to play with these guys. If I want to fight them or don't like us too much. I'm not sure if I should fight those guys or if I should go south and fight some of these other people. I think fighting some of them is probably a good deal. But I would like a trade partner too, because trade is one of the only other ways you can get income. Okay, so that's what we'll do for now. Slaves, we got our tech going, did diplomacy, building everything out. We're not going to upgrade this for now because I want to put this in a different building slot, but I also want to recruit. Okay. So what I mean by that is, since it caps out at tier 3, I want to put it in a secondary town that also caps out at tier 3, so that I don't waste a slot in my tier 5 town upgrading that. So we might put, you know, put it in Spite's reach, for example. Now, how I'm going to deal with this is I'm probably going to do one more round of Dark Shards, and then we'll go ahead and siege Grand. And then I think we can try to walk up and soften them up with all of our Dark Shards if we have Dark Shard superiority. Okay, so this tells you about the cap system, where you can only have so many units. I'm going to do faction-wide and army caps. So there's a hard cap per army of how many of each type of unit you can have, and then there's a hard cap of how many per all of your armies you can have. So we'll go with faction-wide to make it even tougher. Capture Marathi's lair. Ooh, that's gonna be tough. I do want that though. The city of Quintex, or Quintex, or whatever. And the big reason is it has a building that lowers the public order penalty for corruption, which is gonna be massive. That will let me take over a lot of the Norsca territory later on if I want to. So I'm interested in trying that out. The reward, the Death Knight bar cannot fall below a higher minimum level. Okay. So we're losing a little bit here. We are getting some extra public order. That's really nice. You can keep the public order going.
Behold my beauty.
What is this foolishness?
Mother of despair.
Okay, so basically they're going to be able to hire 3 units, and then I also want to be able to hire 3 units. Now, a thing to consider also, though, is these aren't going to be full power yet, I don't believe. So these are all going to replenish. So maybe I should just go ahead and make a play on them before these replenish all the way. My garrison should be an example. How healthy? Actually, mine are full health. Wait, no they aren't. Well, that's because I just made that building that has those. So theirs will probably be full health.
Bloody-handed priestess. Blood Queen of Haganeth.
That's quite a lot. Maybe we should just go with one more of these. Of course, those are very good in a
Waste
siege.
my time.
Their armor is not going to do much against the armor-piercing rounds that I have. So they're going to have 3.
Beautifully deadly.
Is that tier 3 or tier... It's tier 2. That's a lot for tier 2. Now, if they complete a building, they're going going to get some extra units also.
Mistress of Haganeth.
Well, I could hit him right now. I'm only going to have 4 archers. I think maybe I do just go for, like, all archers. And then just siege him next turn. I think I'm going to go for that. So we're going to be over the line by a pretty good chunk. It's 345 something. Yeah, so it'll be like 300 in the red if we do that. But if we win, we should be able to get some stuff out of it. Maybe I should have gone for the money building instead of that. But
Bloody
if we beat that, then we should be able to go and grab all the rest of their stuff too.
Mistress of Haganeth.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go for this. I'm just gonna make sure we get this next turn.
Mother of despair.
I'm really, really tempted to get more Line Breaker or Sheaf Master, but I will refrain. I'm not gonna exploit the system. Okay. Because from what I saw, like, playing around with the Trash campaign, you get 3, like, every time you level up. Like, the first 3 levels, you can get 9 skill points, which is, I mean, maybe it's a glitch or something. I don't know why they would do that on purpose, but it's, I mean, that's fine. We can just self-regulate, just have a little self-control. Not abuse the system. Alright, I'm gonna do rumors are true. That's gonna have Empire all stay together more. Wow, that bar fades pretty quickly. So like every 3 or 4 turns you have to sacrifice? Does it fill all the way up though? Not sure. That's gonna be pretty taxing.
Despair.
I don't know what they bought. I hope they just bought spears. Can they get? Okay, they got an artisan house. Like swords. They can't even hire dark shards, I don't think. Oh, they can hire these riders, which I don't really care about in a siege. Okay, that's
Queen of
the most I'm gonna be able to
Haganeth.
get. So
I am Cain's
let's hit him up.
instrument. My blades thirst. God of
Ooh, I
murder.
forgot it's gonna take me a turn. At least 1 turn for this battering ram.
Fly,
Do I want these to
fools.
get up on the rafters? I don't... Maybe.
Glorious slaughter.
Let me see. I really don't want
Blood
to spend that
for
much
all.
time, though. I can't. I'm going to be broke if I do that. And I want all of these dark shards here.
Cain is watching. My blades
Yeah, so we'll just take
thirst.
1 turn. We'll get a battering ram. And I think the Hagganoth Executioner should just be able to mow him down. Sisters of Slaughter, and then just throwing Hellebron and her into the mix. Should be okay. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do.
Glorious slaughter. Blood for all. Destroy them.
Not gonna take the temptation.
Carnage awaits us.
The question is, do I take some slaves here or not? I mean, we'll see how much money. Because we could sack and then occupy. Now, they have a gold mine, which should be really sweet.
I have a mind to slaughter you. Convince me otherwise.
Do I want to play nice with them or do I want to kill them? I'm gonna need somebody to kill. Because I have to keep my money going. Grand is gonna take a little while. I mean, I could trade with them also and try to play nice, and then go down and take out like Hag Grafe or something like that. I guess it's gonna take about 10 turns. Okay. After 10 turns, we can cancel it if we want to. Oh, are they coming out on me? Ooh. Well, I kind of built for a siege and not necessarily for a for an open field fight. This horse is going to be a lot more annoying in an open field fight. I don't know if we have the front line for this. Maybe. All these have silver shields, which are going to be pretty good against dark shards. Well, I mean, if I run... If I run, then I'm not going to have my battering ram, and I'm not going to be able to siege, I'm going to run out of money, so I think we just got to fight it. So they aren't going to have their wall, or their towers. Now, we don't know where these reinforcements... The reinforcements could be split up. It might come from directly behind them. I think this mod has added in the random reinforcement zone, because I've seen some odd reinforcement angles. So technically, I think it should come from right behind them. But we'll see what happens. No, it's not. It's coming from over here. Okay. So we can actually surround and kill him.
We are ready. Merciless warriors.
I'm not sure why they added back in the random... Yeah, they don't have any artillery, so we should be able to just...
Whisper to me! Death hag!
Executioners, we are ready.
These whips. Ha. Oh, look at those masks. That's pretty sweet. Sisters of Slaughter. Or the, executioners. They look pretty sweet. Oh, yeah. Those are some sweet looking blades. Alright.
Dark Elves.
Well, let's get ready. Light these guys up.
Death hag!
Dark Shards.
I want to hit them like as soon as they walk out the gate. 140 range doesn't seem like 140 range to me, but okay.
Dread Spears.
Death hag! Kane's chosen!
Now what I want the ladies,
Hellebron!
the heroes, to attack from behind. They do not need to front lines. They just don't have enough armor.
Death hag!
Dark shards. Understood. Die, weaklings! Attack! Cold-blooded killers. By Cain! Hack! Cut! Going.
Bringers of death.
Murder awaits.
To murder!
For Cain, it shall be.
Cold-blooded killers. To destruction. Dread spears. Dark shards.
Mystery upon mystery.
No survivors.
Hellebron! I offer blood!
By Cain! Forward! Taruki! Terror and death! Going! The merciless host! Massacre them! Moving out!
Hellebron!
They're coming over. They're gonna be late though.
Red spears! Slash! Kill! Blood will flow! Onward! On to slaughter! Orders understood! With pleasure! On to slaughter! We are ready! We understand. Dread spears! Dark shards! Battle ready! Onward! Advancing! Going! Death is coming! Carnage awaits! Dark shards!
Wow, how have they killed more?
Nagarothi! No survivors!
Wait, why are we?
It is done! At once! Following orders! With pleasure!
Femme fatale. Death awaits. Advance! Kill!
Terror and death!
Blood Queen! Sesai! Hurricane! Hear me!
To destruction! Forward! Slay them! Forward! Dark shards! Root suffering for all! We are ready! End them! Dread spears! Destroy!
Death hag! If I must.
All is understood.
Oh no, I might lose my sisters.
Death awaits.
Attack!
With rage. Forward!
Why is it taking so long to kill these things? Holy
Onwards to
crap.
murder! Dark shards! Die, weaklings! Slaughter them! Onward! Dealers in death!
Hellebron!
Withdraw!
Fell and foul! For Cain!
Spreading despair! Cain's priestess! Blades ready!
Hopefully they don't all die. I mean,
Advance!
Dark shards! It is done!
They have the wind.
Hellebron! To murder! Guided by Cain! Murder!
At Senlu!
Lack!
Attack! Eager for battle! I
how are they winning this?
No survivors! Executioners! We understand. Merciless warriors! Slay them!
Cut! Hack! Slash!
Eager for battle. Enemy! No mercy! On to slaughter!
Yeah, I'm probably gonna lose these sisters, but I'm not super impressed with their
Dark
performance so
shots.
far anyways.
Hack! Cut! Slash! Kill! The merciless host! Blood will flow! Moving out. To destruction! Withdraw! Finish them!
Of course!
Really don't want to lose these Hoggernath executioners, but
Pull back!
Dark Elves! Destroy!
Hellebron!
Red Spears!
they're getting real dicey though.
We are ready! Understood. Druki!
Yeah, they're running.
Hellebron!
Executioners!
Blood Queen!
The merciless host!
Those might get rounded off.
Executioners! Murder awaits!
I mean, she killed. Decent shot.
Hellebron!
Pretty sure we lost our sisters of slaughter, but we'll see how they did.
Merciless warriors.
Like I said, I'm not like super impressed. I feel like these things should have killed way more. Yeah, I guess they did kill a pretty good chunk.
Eager for battle!
Jesus.
My bloodlust
Those things
is
did kill a
waning.
lot.
Executioners!
Maybe they like buffed
Carnage
the
awaits.
stats on the enemy or something? I'm not really sure.
Furious! Death high! I am ready!
And a lot of these guys are going to get away because I don't have anything fast enough to run them down.
Executioners! Terror and death!
Yeah, the problem is now if I siege them, I just don't have any beef left. Maybe the sisters made it. I feel like they really didn't kill anything. I mean, the Hoggernath executioners pretty much killed everything. God, those things did so much damage. Why do they do so much and I do so little? Their army was even split up. I mean, I guess... I don't know. I mean, that's about as good as you could ask for. I don't know why it took these guys so long to hack through them. The Sisters of Slaughter just don't do very much, I guess. I mean, I could really use the money, but I also really, really need this replenishment if I'm going to try to siege especially. Killed most of their garrison. It's gonna be a tough siege. Yeah, I think we have to go with the slaves. I don't mind. I mean, these aren't that high level. They're only tier 3, and frankly, I'm not super impressed with their performance. As long as I kept the executioners. sucks because I do want to increase the treasury, but...
Feel Kane's gaze. Kane is watching.
Yeah, we'll enable Beastman. So that was a pretty intense fight there.
What is this foolishness?
So they didn't get any replenishment. Their garrison should not have replenished. I don't think. We do have most of our dark shards. Okay, we did get 2 levels. Well, we only gained 1 level. Okay, so we're level 3. I mean, I would love to upgrade. That is for Sisters of Slaughter also. Like, this is so tempting to go for this because I know Haganeth are awesome, but I just am not going to be able to recruit a lot of those for a while. I don't know how strong Witch Elves are going to be. There's a cap on Witch Elves, though. There's no cap on Sisters. It's possible I just used them wrong. Now, I did have the Sisters, like, face tank, like, 4 units or something for a while. So that's definitely a thing. And they were taking missile fire the whole time from the Dark Shards, I think, so. It's hard to get around this, though. Because it's also Corsairs. I'm going to have a lot of Corsairs, I think. Let's just go with that. I really want to spend these points because I'm so far behind. Right, I'm not super far behind. If we win the siege, I'm fine. It's just if we lose the siege, it's going to be really bad. Extra ammo for Dark Shards and Corsairs would be nice. I'm going to probably use Shades, but Shades are more expensive later on. There's so many good things. I mean, I would love to use all these points, but I feel like I'd be abusive if I did that. And I want the challenge. Okay.
Slash, stab, fight, kill. A capable servant.
Now she gets 2 per. I'll have to go through and read the notes and just see like what their reasoning is on this. If they have a good reason, maybe I'll spend them, but it just feels like it just way too fast of a power spike. If I can just get +8/+8 on all my units off of like, you know, 2 fights, pretty much. This feels like I would just snowball way too hard. I think Duiz want replenish, although she's gonna have to fight here, right, and come up big. So maybe I go for this. She has a pretty nice melee attack. Alright, we're only gonna use 1 point per.
The goddess forbids it.
How delightful.
Now, what are these? Are
Attack!
tier 2.
My blades thirst.
For real. It's every 3 turns you lose a box, so you have to sacrifice 800 every 3 turns.
Kane is watching.
That's gonna be rough.
How delightful. Attack! God of murder.
Wait, y'all are trolling. We don't get our equipment? Or do we have a piece of equipment?
Glorious slaughter. Blood for all.
Does it say where our finished? Oh, we do have 1. Okay. Now we have 6 labor force, where before we didn't. I think a battering ram is fine. we just bust down the front door, I think that just these two should be able to handle it. Yeah, I really don't want to wait any more turns to get siege tower. I don't know if we really get an advantage by having a siege tower. Yeah, let's just fight it.
Slash, stab, fight, kill.
Oh, murder of captives. Okay, so that was when I occupied the other town. I think that's what happened. Okay.
Glorious slaughter. Blood.
This is going to be a bit longer than a typical episode. I try to aim for about an hour per episode, but I want to see if I get this completed or not. This is going to be a tough fight. It'd be a heck of a start to the campaign. I have two really tough fights like this. Wow, that night thing, that death knight, comes on you quick. I thought I was going to have, like, you know, maybe I'd lose one of those boxes every 10 turns, 5 or 10 turns, but it's like, no, it looks like it's every 3 turns, so you have to give up 800 slaves.
Hellebron.
I think. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Cain's
learning it as you
priestess.
guys are seeing it, so.
Death hag.
Yeah, I think this is a better entranceway.
Dark shards! Dealers in death! Executioners!
Death hag.
By Dracula!
With fury.
Dark shards! Murder awaits! Make them bleed! Cold-blooded killers! No survivors! Cold-blooded killers! Dark shards! Dark elves! Merciless warriors! Slash! Kill! Dark shards! Terror and death!
Death hag.
Without question.
Blood drenched. Cut them.
Cold-blooded killers!
Spreading despair.
Orders understood. It is done.
Why are we...
Back! Dread spears.
As you wish. Blood. Cain wills it.
Dark shards. By Dracula. The merciless host. Battle ready. Murder awaits. Nagarothi. Glorious destruction. Moving out.
Yes. Let hatred fly.
Dark shards. Dealers in death. Dark shards. At once. Battle calls. The merciless host. Dark shards. Orders understood.
You know, I just want to hit the densest population of units.
With fury. Mistress of whispers. Dealing death.
Dark shards. Die, weaklings.
Hellebron. Hag. As you say.
The merciless host. Withdraw! Orders understood. We are ready. Advance, Druki!
Death hag. Going. It shall be. What deeds await?
Eager for battle. By Dracula!
Hellebron.
Merciless warriors, attack!
Lord of Murder! Hellebron!
Pull back! By your command! Advance, Druki! On to slaughter! This is madness! Look out! Missile fire!
She might die.
Lack! Get out of here!
She's running for it.
I'm weary of battle! Cold-blooded killers! Dark Elves! Massacre them! As you
Forgot to
say,
activate that.
battle ready! Dark shards!
Hellebron!
I sense defeat! Cold-blooded killers! This fight is lost!
She has like 2 HP.
Battle loses its savor!
Hellebron! Forward! Blood for Cain!
I will not die!
Where are they coming down?
On to slaughter! Executioners! Die, weaklings!
Bleed them!
Die! Druki! Advance, Druki!
Hag!
Cain, forgive me!
Destroy! A vile plan! Time to
Run
die!
these guys off the field.
Nagarothi!
They're trying to run for it.
Hellebron! Blood for Cain!
Tread spears!
Death Hag! I go! More!
Let me see if we can grab this tower area.
High Priestess!
Bloody murder!
Death Hag!
There's not even anybody there. How are they? Damn, they're running for her. I see him. See him coming. She has like 27 HP. You gotta run for it.
Back at once!
Okay, yeah, she's running. Those guys
Blood for
are
Cain!
screwed. So we got them off the field.
Spreading despair!
Carnage awaits!
Queen Hellebron! Cain's chosen!
They're still running for me. They're taking it back.
Retreat!
Yeah, she's probably gone.
Hellebron! Now!
No, missiles.
Warriors!
Cain, lead me! Now! Hellebron! Blood! Blood! Blood!
Following orders!
High Priestess! Sethai!
To destruction!
Dang it.
Hellebron! Bleed them!
Oh, that's use our Hagenhead.
Hag Queen!
They're gonna
Hellebron!
kite me and
Touch them!
Destroy! Bleak swords!
Hellebron! High Priestess!
Oh, we got her.
Blood for Cain!
Executioners! Dread spears! Slaughter them!
Now! Seeking blood!
Dealers in death! Battle calls! Eager for battle! Blood for Cain! No survivors!
How many are there right there?
Hellebron!
Executioners! Moving out! Dark shot!
Hellebron! Queen Hellebron!
Did they actually kill him or did they run? They may have. I don't know if they shot him or not. Hellebron versus the world here.
Eager for battle!
I don't know where those other dudes went. I thought there were like a handful of Corsairs. It's literally like down to the unit. Oh, there's those Corsairs. There are the Corsairs. Am I just now hitting Murderous Prowess? How much health?
Hellebron!
Is waning! My blood
He's got 1,000. I think we can beat him.
The battle is Dark Elves! Bloody murder!
Yeah, they're running.
This is
Jeez, I mean, you can't get much closer than this. Holy crap.
this! Dark shots!
I mean, it's gonna suck if we lose our executioners,
The
but
merciless host! Blood will flow! Massacre them!
Hellebron's like, you better freaking go.
Get out of here! Battle loses its savor!
I had 2 left. I saw him. I had 2 left, baby. They better give them to me. They better let me regen. They're probably gonna not give them to me. It's probably just gonna be Hellebron and maybe these 13 dudes.
This fight is lost!
Lord of Murder!
I will not die today! I am wasted here!
I mean, she didn't kill that many. It seems like she's like built to be this like crazy like anti-light infantry unit, you know, like a one of those elves. I'm like blanking out on the name, so I'm so tired. It's not blood. Is it blood elves? Witch elves. Seems like she should be like a witch elf, but now I hope my hag didn't die. She was alive. She was alive. Holy cow. I have a feeling it might just be Hellebron, though. Hopefully at least they give me the hag.
Their blood sustains me.
Okay, well, I think they gave us her. They don't round off on your heroes, but they did round for the executioners.
Sack this miserable place.
I kind of need to keep it at tier 2, though, I think. Like, I want to be able to occupy and do all that stuff, but I need to keep it at tier 2.
Bow to your queen. Blood Queen of Haganeth.
So we're not going to get the Harganeth until tier 5 again. Won't. It does suck. We do save some money on that, but they are definitely worth every penny. That feels bad. I think we can recover and make this happen, though. I think we can recover. What? I only got it at tier 1? Y'all were trolling. I thought I was going to get a tier 2. Dang it. I should have sacked it. Well, we definitely need a gold pit. Like, 100%. So we get the Grand Sorceress stuff. Plus 3 ranks for sorceresses. Requires tier 4 though. Yeah, we're gonna have to get rid of this. And switch over to the gold mine. For sure.
I am Cain's instrument.
Yeah, I don't think we leveled up at all there. Damn, I really wish I had those Hargoneth Executioners. Oh, I forgot we have Regiments of Renown now, also. Oh, that's kind of cool. So we can get some of these guys, these magical cavalry. What level does... level 26.
Behold my
Okay.
beauty.
Well, we'll get back at it next episode. That was definitely a really, really close fight.
Blood Queen of Hargoneth.
We should be able to take the rest of this stuff. We're gonna have to regroup. Kind of sucks. We're gonna have to come over here and hire some more stuff.
Mother of despair.
But we're gonna have to go start killing some stuff soon. Like, getting down to this is probably okay, but we definitely do not want to get down to this. Yeah, that's real rough. It seems like you get a lot less slaves than you have in the past also. At least, that's what I'm noticing. But, what are our total slaves right now? I don't know, we have like 100 or something. Yeah, 122 slaves. So, anyways, we'll figure it out next episode. So, thanks very much, have a good day, and I'll see you everybody next time.